No? Today I am going to give you an insight into UPI. Okay, along with the system design for UPI, HLD for the UPI. See, first, you are able to see my going screen. Directly to the system design of UPI. No? First, I will give some insight. What are the parties are involved in a UPI transaction? To give a complete overview of a UPI, so you have a better understanding of the UPI ecosystem. What are the parties or various parties are involved in a UPI? And I will give a couple of use case how the complete transaction flow, so you'll get a good understanding of the UPI. Okay. First, some overview on UPI is nothing but unified payment interface. Okay. See, for past UPI was primarily started in 2016. Okay. It is nothing but a simple, easiest payment system through which you can transfer amount from person to person or person to merchant. See, what is the big advantage of UPI is nothing but it is very simple. You don't need to know the account number and IFC to transfer a amount. You need to just know their mobile number or their unique UPI ID. That is enough. You can instantly transfer amount. You can use any app. Any app. There are multiple payment service providers. Like PhonePe is there, Paytm is there, Google is there. You can use them and make the payment. That is the big advantage UPI has. Okay. It is very easy to, and another very big advantage for UPI is there is no charge for the transfer you make using UPI. That is the government, Indian government and RBI regulation. You must not take any service charge for payment or transaction happening to UPI. That is the big advantage the UPI ecosystem has. That has led to the popularity of the UPI. I have shown two of the graphs. In the first graph I have shown the growth of the UPI. From 2017 to 2001, see the growth of the UPI. It almost grew 800%, not 800, 8,000%. That is the tremendous growth of UPI. Okay, this shows how rapid the UPI growth and how it has digitalized the government's vision. That is the growth of UPI. And the other graph shows who are the major player in the UPI. PhonePe and Google almost have the 80% of the sales in the UPI environment. Okay, this is a simple and small overview of what UPI does and what is the market of UPI and what is the growth of the UPI. You have any doubts in this thing, team? Tarun or anyone else? You need any other details in this thing?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Shivam, if you can explain the background about what was the problem before UPI and how it was solved with UPI.
Okay. So, Tarun, to be frank, no, I am not much in-depth understanding what was the use case based on the UPI payment was built on. Okay. Yeah.
Sure. Because I understand. Just to give my perspective was before.
Okay.
See, I'll give the background about UPI little bit as far as I know. Before UPI, only option was to transfer funds instantly was net banking, right? So you use net banking, but the problem with net banking is available for only few people. Very few users used to have net banking. right? With
Okay.
UPI now, every shop in any village or any uh, area, you will find now people are using UPI. So UPI was a payment solution which made transfer very easy. Correct. So earlier Paytm was there, other technology was there, but I think this is a standard interface which has revolutionized the payments, and now it is used by millions and billions of users. Right, go ahead.
Okay, okay. Thanks, Tarun. Thanks for the information. See now, see you in UPI system now there are multiple parties or entities here are involved. On broad level, no, there are five parties. For example, I'll give you the example. I want to transfer a amount of 1,000 to Tarun. Okay. See, I am transferring from GPay to Tarun's PhonePe account. Okay. So in GPay, I opened a GPay and I had linked my Axis Bank account to my GPay VPA. VPA is not but the virtual payment address, a unique address which we will create in the in any PSP. PSP is nothing but payment service provider like GPay, Paytm, PhonePe, all are payment service provider who give UPI service to the customer. So whenever you register to any payment, this particular PSP, you will get a unique address. Okay, so I open the GPay app. I enter Tarun's PhonePe VPA. So here GPay will act as a payer PSP because I am going to pay to Tarun. So, and Tarun PhonePe PSP will act as the payee PSP. Okay. Since I have linked Axis account to my GPay, Axis account became Remitter Bank. So Tarun has linked his HDFC Bank account. So HDFC Bank account becomes the beneficiary account. These are the four various party. Along with that, the fifth party will be the centralized UPI system, which is managed by NPCI, National Payment Corporation of. This is the centralized system, which acts as the mediator. Okay, these are the five parties. The parties are payer PSP from the app which the payment is going to happen, payee PSP to the app which to which the payment is done, and the banks, remitter bank from the bank which the debit is going to happen, beneficiary bank, the bank to which the credit is. These are the various parties are involved in this thing. I will show with some use case. Okay, the first use case what I am going to show is the send money use case, where I want to send a money to Tarun. So I'll open the Google Pay app and enters Tarun's VPA, the unique ID. Basically, his phone number at YBL. YBL
Yes.
is the handle.
Yes. So Shivam,
Okay.
one more query I have
Yeah.
is, if I want my app to support UPI, for example, Google Pay uses UPI. So how
Yeah.
can I onboard an app to use UPI?
Okay. Oh, see, Tarun, there are multiple things. See, normally this phone pay, UPI, all the things, no?
Yes.
Once you have downloaded and once you have linked your bank account, no, they automatically enable the UPI feature for you.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
This is the process generally. See, normal, no, for example, when you NPCI have their own Beam application,
Yeah.
okay, UPI, in that what you have to do, for example, first you are downloading the NPCI Beam app. So first, see, normally what it will ask, it will automatically select the SIM in your phone
Yeah.
once you download. If you have two SIMs, it will ask you to select the SIM whose mobile number is linked to your bank accounts.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that is the first use case of first requirement. You
Yes.
have to
Yes.
select a SIM whose phone number is linked to your bank.
Yes.
Once you select the particular SIM, behind what it does, the particular app, the PSP, sends the phone number to NPCI.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, to get the bank and the account linked to this particular phone number
Okay. Okay.
behind. So NPCI what it does based on your phone number, it goes to its database and fetch all the bank and account number linked to your particular phone number
Yeah.
and returns back to your PSP app, like
Okay.
BMAP for example.
Yes.
Once it return back, then you have to link a particular account to the particular VPA. It will automatically generate a VPA. Basically, the VPA will be your mobile number at the particular handle. Each
Okay.
app
Okay.
will have its own handle. For example, this NPC Beam handle will be at UPI.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. In the case of GPay, there are four handles: OK
Yes.
SBA, OK HDFC, this or that thing.
Yeah.
In the case of PhonePe, it is YBL. Okay, each app will have a unique handle that will be added to your phone number. Basically, this is the primary thing. Once it is added, then what it asks you to create a secure UPI pin. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
For that, what if you require, you have to enter your debit card details. Okay.
Okay.
Once it is completed, you are registered to UPI.
Okay. Okay.
This is the general process. Certain, for example, Beam does this process. Google Pay only asks you to link the account and create the UPI. No, it doesn't ask you to create the UPI ID because it takes the ID from NPCI because already you have created for
Yes.
the particular UPI thing.
Yes.
Okay, this is the general process.
Okay. Okay.
Team, anyone has any other doubt or shall I proceed? Okay. See, this is the send flow where a person is sending a money. For example, here I am sending a money 1,000 to Tarun. So I'll enter Tarun's VPA, basically his PhonePe VPA. Then once enter his VPA, what the PSP does for the payer VPA is nothing but GPay. What it does, since I am first time entering Tarun's VPA, it check whether it is a valid VPA or not. So what the GPay does, it sends the VPA to NPCI based on the handle the particular VPA has. For example, it has YBL. It sends the VPA details to PhonePe, asking PhonePe to check whether it is a valid VPA or not. PhonePe checks that PhonePe is nothing but the payee PSP. PhonePe checks that and confirms back to NPCI telling that it is a valid VPA. Okay. Further, NPCI confirm back to GPay that it is a valid VPA. Once it is done, once I enter the amount details everything, then what the GPay does, it fits my account detail because GPay has my account details linked to the VPA. For example, my Axis account detail GPay has. So it fetches that and it sends my account detail, the VPA to which it has to be credited to NPCI. That is the loan number 5, RegPay. It makes a call to NPCI called RegPay, where it sends my account details the amount that has to be credited, and whom to have to pay. Now, what it does, this reg pay does, it sends it NPC does, it makes a call to pay PSP telling to get the account detail to which the credit has to happen, because it has NPC has only the VPA details. It does not have the account details of Tarun to which the credit has to happen. So it makes a call to PhonePe, which is here as a pay POS, telling this is the VPA, provide the account details corresponding to this VPA. That is the call 6 happens. So pay PP checks the VPA. Based on the VPA, it returns back the account details. Once NPC has the account details to which the credit has to happen, then it sends the debit request to the remitter bank, which is an Axis bank. It provides the account and IFC detail along with the amount to the remitter bank. Remitter bank debits and provide a success response to NPC. Then what NPC says, then once it receives a success debit request from the remitter bank, then it makes a credit request to beneficiary bank. That is the flow number 8. Once the credit is done successfully, then it responds both to payer PSP and the pay PSP telling that the transaction has been completed. That is what the flow 9 and 10 is all nothing but the response back to corresponding PSP telling that the payment has been successful. Once pay PSP get a confirmation from NPC, it sends a notification to the app telling your payment has been done successfully. This is the overall high level flow of the sendment. Or team, you got the overall flow, team? Tarun,
Yeah, I think
I,
everyone understood, very well explained with the diagram. One more point I want to add and ask the viewers to also look for is there is something called PayPal, right? So, do you know PayPal, Shivam, or has anyone used
it
PayPal?
is like PayPal is nothing like a broker. See, whenever we want to make a payment through credit or debit now,
Yes, yes,
there'll be some mediator or a centralized system.
correct,
In US,
correct.
mostly it is a PayPal.
Yes, so it's PayPal is similar. UPI is definitely no now much bigger, but PayPal was the first such system. Is there any similarity or what are the key differences?
Okay. See, for my PayPal is something similar to CC Avenue, which is in India. That is what my understanding,
Okay,
Tarun.
okay. What is
Okay,
this? What
PayPal
is CCI money?
CC Avenue, where we used to make a whenever we want to make, for example, like whenever I go to IRCTC and book a train ticket, I want to make a payment. No, there will be a centralized service provider like CC Avenue, where I
Okay.
can make a payment through any means
Ah,
like debit
yes,
card or credit
yes,
card.
absolutely, absolutely. Yes, yes. Got it.
So
So
PayPal is
they,
somewhat similar to that. That is
yes,
what my
there are so many wallets, right? So yeah, wallets, what are the online wallets and how is it different from this UPI? Probably if you can explain that, that would also be very helpful.
okay. Okay, the first and foremost thing, sorry, Tarun and the team is see in UPI, okay. See, first thing you don't need to know have any account details. Okay, you need to only make you need to understand only the if for example if I want to transfer amount to Tarun, either I need to know only his phone number, okay, or his unique UPI ID. I don't need to have know his account number or IFC detail or bank details. Nothing I need to know. Okay. And it is very instant. Once you register, no, immediately you can, once you add him as a payee, you can make a immediate transfer of amount of to a limit of 5,000 in the first day. That is a limit. For example, when I add Tarun today, today I can make a transfer of 5,000 to a max. That we can make. That is one big advantage. That is instant and very fast we can make. And second, one more advantage, you have other features like QR code scanning is there. That has revolutionized UPI bit, because now, whenever I go outside, instead of taking my wallet, I'm taking only my phone to make the payment. If I go to the cart wala, or if I go to a street vendor, everyone are having QR code in their cart. So I can easily make a payment using QR code. These are all the things which has revolutionized UPI.
Great, great. Yes.
Tarun?
Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Yes. Go
See,
ahead.
basically, you don't need to remember anything, Tarun. It is simple. You need to know only the phone number or other number also you can. Which is, normally phone number will easily remember. Simplified.
Yes,
That.
yes. Right. So VPA you mentioned, so that's also
See,
important
normally
because
VPA is nothing but, for example, in Beam, I have my phone number at UPA as my VPA. Because each
okay,
app has its link to a particular or a set of unique VPAs.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
See, when I use NPC Beam, my VPA will be my phone number and the handle will be at UPA. But in case of when I use GPay, my VPA will be the same phone number, but the handle will be at OK HDFC.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
See, what is the? I will tell what is difference in GPay. See, this GPay, Paytm, PhonePe cannot be, has to come through some sponsor bank in
Yes.
UPA. So GPay has four sponsor bank. Okay. One is SBI, Axis Bank, ICIC, and HDFC. That is why you see, OK HDFC, OK SBI. These
Yes.
are the handles given by GPay based on the bank to which it is linked to it.
Okay.
Similarly, PhonePe, they had Yes Bank as their sponsor bank. So the VPI will be at YBL. So your phone number will be same, only the handle will be changing based on the app which you are registered with. So you will
Okay.
easily remember it.
Yeah, yeah. Great, great. So once
See,
you give this number, say, no, you give Tarun.Telang at OK HDFC Bank, right? So
yeah,
assume this is GPay who is trying to send money to this address.
yeah.
So GPay do not know what this maps to which account, right? To which person. But
Yeah, GPA does not need to know only Tarun here.
yes,
Okay, GPA knows. That is why first it what does, it sends the request to NPCI, telling that, see, first time I am registering you. Okay.
right.
So what it does, that normally whenever you enter any phone number, that will be a verify button nearby. So you can verify it basically, whether it is
Yes,
a valid VPA or not.
yes,
Once you tap that, what the particular app does, it sends the VPA to NPC. So NPC internally knows what are the various app registered with it and their corresponding handle it has.
okay.
Okay. So based on the handle, it knows it belongs to PhonePe. So it sends the VPA to PhonePe and asking whether it is a valid VPA or not. Okay. Then
Yes,
PhonePe checks internally and confirms back to NPCI. Yeah, it is a valid VPA. It tells that. So
yes,
NPCI gets the response from PhonePe and sends the response back to GPay. Then GPay decide what to do. Yes, it is a valid VPA. Then it allows us to enter the amount or to use the VPA.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Sure.
So once we get a value, then we will enter the amount. Okay. Once we enter the amount, then we have to enter the unique pin, UPI pin, which we have created because the amount is going to debit, no? So
Yes.
the app authenticates whether I am the right user of the app. So it asks us to enter the UPI pin.
Okay.
Okay. Once you enter the pin, then the fifth leg will happen. The from number 5 will start happening.
Okay.
Okay. Or team, anyone else have any clarification or you have a better understanding of the flow now? Okay. Here I am in this slide now. I am talking about one more flow. Previous one was send flow. Here collect flow, where I am requesting 1,000 rupees from Tarun. Okay, previously I was sending 1,000 rupees to Tarun. Here I am requesting the amount of 1,000 from Tarun. So GPay will be a pay app here. Tarun PhonePe will be a payer app here. So once I enter 1,000 rupees, when the fifth leg comes, when the record details come to the payer PSP, what the PhonePe does, it sent a notification to Tarun telling that Shivam is requesting 1,000 rupees value. So please authorize the request. That is why the rec approval is required here. So once Tarun approves that, then only the debit and credit will happen. Okay, without the approval of the payee, the correct flow does not happen. That is the only additional thing happening in the correct flow. Team here. Rest all same like the send money only. All the APIs, everything same. Only one thing is our approval flow is additionally here. Tarun and the team, you got an understanding here?
Yes, yes. Got it.
Okay, got it.
Go ahead.
Okay. See, next we will go to the high level design. Okay, this I have created based on my understanding. Okay. See here, I am giving you this diagram based on where the centralized system, NPC UPI ecosystem is there. Okay. See, here, okay. To before that, what I'll tell you, all the parties, both the PSPs, banks, everyone who are using, who are engaged in UPI ecosystem, or having a direct connectivity with NPC. For example, Google Pay UPI application will have a direct link with NPC. Okay, it is okay. So all the parties will have a direct link to NPC. Team, you got understanding on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So it is not like an internet thing. All are connected directly to NPC using MPLS or any link, direct link. Okay. This is the thing. So, for example, now when a request from GPay, Google PSP comes to NPC, after passing to the router, firewall, everything, the first thing where it hit is the LB. That is the blue one, the top one. Okay. Okay. See, for high availability, I am having two LB. One is the active LB and one is the passive LB. Whenever the active LD fails, automatically the passive LB HLD will come up and do the load balancing here. Okay, this is one thing. Here I am proposing the use of hardware load balancer because the volume is very high. Because almost 6 months before, UPA was NPC UPA was processing almost 20 to 30 crore transactions per day. So the volume is very high. So instead of going for software load balancer, no, I am proposing of using hardware load balancer. And this LB also does the SSL offloading. So why I am proposing SSL offloading in here is the first advantage is, see, uh, the APIs, then APIs that are involved in UPI, or there are multiple APIs or multiple use case are involved in UPI. Like financial transaction is there, non-financial transaction is there, mandate transaction is there. So I need to understand what kind of request has come first. So I have to do SSL offloading, check what kind of request has come, and based on the type, I have to forward the request to the corresponding application server. Okay, that is why SSL offloading is that. This is one purpose. That is why if you see the second row, no, you have all the application server, but they are grouped based on their functionality. The first group is called financial, which cater or which process only the request related to finance. The second group will process all the requests related to non-financial transaction. The third one or group of apps which process requests to related to mandate. These are the things. So based on the category, the transaction will flow to the corresponding apps. Second thing, I will also make a stickiness in my HLD. Stickiness, for stickiness, I use the transaction ID coming in the request to maintain the stickiness. See, why I want to make a stickiness, as I shown in my first diagram, there are four parties are involved here: payer PSP, payee PSP, remitter, and beneficiary bank. Okay, that transaction, for one transaction to get completed, all the four parties gets involved. So whenever a transaction first comes and it goes to a particular server called app1, the substitution, the further leg of the transaction also I have to direct to the same server for a fast response. That is why I will maintain a stickiness in the HLD. Team, you have an understanding here what I mean by stickiness here?
So stickiness is about having this information about the history, right?
Okay, Tarun, to give more, for example, I am getting a transaction called A.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, it is coming uh, from the payer PSP, a
Yes.
transaction A, and my active, the HLD has decided it is a financial transaction, and it is routing to a app server called one. Assume that.
Yes.
So what app server one does? It sends to the payee PSP here. Okay.
Yeah.
It knows based on the handle, it forwards that to the payee PSP. Payee PSP will process the transaction and sends the response back to the LB.
Yes.
So LB, what it fetch the transaction ID, I know that this transaction was processed by app1. So again, it sends the request to app1 instead of other app server. Like this, the complete leg of the particular transaction will force to the particular app server.
Yeah.
Okay. For this,
Okay.
the stickiness is maintained here.
Okay. Okay. So is that mean that if I make subsequent requests, it will go through the same server?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
So first HLD is there, then the app server. The app server or completely horizontal scalable. For example, for financial, since financial volume is more, I will have 10 app servers, and non-financial, the number of transactions low, I will have only 3. Based on the volume, I will scale up the group of server, everything. Okay, I will write the algorithm in HLD such that least connection algorithm. where the server which has the read connection, that to that the request will be sent. Whenever a new request comes, no, it checks which app server has the read connection to which the particular transaction go. Like this, what any algorithm I can implement it. And one more important thing, since see normally these are financial transaction, where the transaction has to be very fast. And in the case of UPI, there are four parties are involved. Okay, to speed up it, instead of using the on disk database, I am using in-memory database, Redis cluster. Whenever a transaction app saves the data in Redis cluster, not in the on disk disk database like Cassandra. It saves in the in-memory to fastly process the data. Okay, in this way, I can reduce the IO to IO processing thing since it is a in-memory database. Okay, to make the transaction very fast. Okay, that is why I use Redis cursor. In Redis cursor, also I use a Redis cursor. For example, I will have 3 nodes, and in each node, I will run 2 Redis process. One as the master and one as the slave. So to maintain to achieve high availability, I will use this. To have the control of this Redis, I will use Sentinel also. Okay. This is the DB I'll be using here. The second thing, once the transaction, all the legs of the transaction is completed, the app push the transaction detail to a event stream message streaming system called Kafka. Okay, it is nothing like a message queue. It pushes the transaction to this message queue. Why I am using message queue is, first thing, I need this data for multiple other systems. Like the settlement system is there, analytics system is there, reporting system is there, external system. For the system, we need to provide the delay time data of the transaction to this various system. So I will use a message queuing system. And from the same message queuing system also, I will use a processor to pull the data and push to the on disk DB like Cassandra for my further use. Okay, that is the last part, DB process and Cassandra. This is the overall high level diagram. Okay. Tarun and the team.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. This is the high level Tarun. Okay. You want to dive into anything here?
Yeah,
No?
maybe if you can share about the system architecture, about what are various systems involved, as you also mentioned verbally. Do you have a slide on system architecture where
Oh,
you
no,
show?
Tarun. I prepare. This is my last slide in this thing.
Okay, okay. And yes, maybe if you can verbally talk about that, how actually, from how many systems the request is served,
Okay.
right? So what are different kinds of databases used, what are different
Okay.
kinds of systems used, and their role, and why they were chosen for the technical
Okay.
reasons.
I will explain that with the example only.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
okay. See, first, let us take the use case where GPay is sending a request to. First, from GPay, a request comes and land on the LB, active LB. What active LB does, it does the SS of offloading. Does it first checks 2 things. Okay. First, it checks the transaction ID and what type of request it is, whether it is a financial, non-financial, and NAND. Okay. Okay. Let us consider it is a financial transaction. It got 2 things. It is a financial transaction. Next, it got a transaction. Then it check in its local whether this transaction ID has been already. It check it six tick in a table. whether already this transaction ID is available or not. If the transaction ID is not there in its memory, then it is a new request. So then based on its algorithm, for example, here I am implementing the least connection algorithm. It it identify a apps server to which it need to send the request to process. So what among these four, let us say it identify app one is the server. So it sends the request to app one server. Okay. So app one server receive the request from active HL from the load balancer. So until this you are clear, no, Tarun and the team?
Yes.
Okay. So active one, what it does? First, no. Interview, what it does? First, it check whether this request is has for it checks whether the request is according to their schema or not, or the validation it does. Once the validation it does, then it decides what is the next course of action. For example, no, the next course of action is to send to pay PSP to get the account. Then it decides. Then it updates from the DB, no, it from the Redis DB, it gets to which pay PSP it has to send. The for example, the IP details of the pay PSP it gets. Okay, to which it need to set that thing. Okay, so it gets the details from the cluster and it will save the status in the Redis clusters, telling it is in the pay PSP leg in the Redis cluster. Okay, once it's saved, it sends a request to the pay PSP. Okay, then the pay PSP in the backend does the process, and once it gets the account details of Tarot, it sends a request to NPC with the account detail. Again, the request falls on the active H, on the LD. Now LLD fetch the transaction ID. It fetch the transaction ID and see whether the transaction ID is already present or not. Since it is already present, it will send the request back to app1 server. Okay, now app1 process the detail. Okay, so it currently has the account detail of the remitter bank. Now it has the account detail of the beneficiary detail. Okay, it saved both in the Redis cluster against the transaction ID. Okay, this is the debit account detail for transaction ID 1. This is the credit detail account against the transaction ID 1. So now do the debit line. It fetch the Axis Bank remitter account details. Sorry, Axis Bank remitter bank's connection details and sends the debit request to Axis Bank. Axis Bank process send the request back to NPCI. NPCI again forward the transaction to app1. Now app1 fetch the credit account detail from the Redis cluster and sends the request to beneficiary bank. Beneficiary bank process the details and sends the success response to NPCI. Now what the app one does, since the whole transaction is success, it sends response both to payer PSP and confirmation. The whole transaction is coming. Next, what app does, it will update the status to completer in the Redis cluster, telling that the transaction has been completed, and update the transaction topic in the Kafka. There are 4 topics will be there. 1 DB topic, 1 settlement topic, 1 reporting topic, 1 analytic topics, various topics. There may be multiple other topics also. For now, let us discuss 4 topics. DB topic, it updates the transaction status in all these topics. Okay, now what the DB processor does, it pulls the data on for every 1 minute. no, it keeps on pushing the data to the custom.db, this app server. Instead of it does the batch processing basically. Instead of pushing the data, once the incoming data comes, instead of pushing them immediately to the customer, no, it does the batch processing. Because the transaction is already completed, no, only we are saving the data for our future reference. So that it does the batch processing and push the data keeping on customer. Here, why we are using the customer is for high availability only. Because we can use any SQL, any database, but if because our priority is high availability and high scaling, for that we are going with custom.db here. Oh, this is the complete flow and the various system involved there.
One question I had. Hi.
Yeah.
What is the frequency of batch processing? What is the frequency?
See, here we can set, here I am setting it as 1 minute. Hello?
Okay. Can you also mention about how security is handled in all this? Like where all security?
See, the first thing, yeah, that is a very good question. First thing, no, it is not a internet facing app. Okay, all the system which are communicating with the system, no, all connected or linked to MPLS link from their data center to NPCA data center or to the particular system data center. So only the traffic can flow from one endpoint to another endpoint. Okay, this is one thing. And second thing, no, before this LB, no, we will have WAF and all. Okay, where WAF will check from where the request is coming. Whether, see, in each of these requests, no, there will be a unique ID mentioning from where the request is coming. That all the details the WAF will send. You got it?
Yes, okay. But who will resource it? On whose server or will it be?
No, resource it means I couldn't get it.
Then where will the WAF be? So let's say under UPI,
this will be okay. For example, no, this is in a data center or a. See, whenever your request comes, no, it don't comes directly to HL. It comes to the entry point of the data center called router or any switch system. Between the switch and this LB, no, there can be a WAF. Okay, the switch will forward the request to WAF. When the WAF or firewall process the request, once it is a valid request, then it further process to the load balancer. Otherwise, it will decline with the appropriate error code there only.
Yes.
Yeah. Tarun, you have any question, Tarun?
No further questions.
Okay. That's all for me, Tarun.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks for sharing this flow about the UPI and also sharing in detail how the payment is processed. So we covered two use cases here. One was sending a payment, other one is sending a payment request, right? Great. Cool. So yeah, anyone else has any further questions? Because you have this diagram, Shivam.
Which diagram?
This is which is currently presented in the screen.
Yeah.
This is what I was asking for, that if you can go through that in 5 minutes, that will also give good insights.
Which diagram?
Now your screen is not shared. Yeah.
What will I share it?
Yes. The slide number 6.
four diagrams I have.
Yeah, so in the slide number 6,
Send flow is
next to next.
no next only four I have.
6, yeah, this one, perfect.
This is the one thing. This is the diagram.
Yes, yes, this one, if you can explain, that is great. That would be great.
Okay. This only I had explained. No? The first entry point of the switch will be application will be load balancer.
Yes.
Okay, load balancer basically we have two load balancer to have high availability here. Okay, one will be active at every time. If the active one fails, then the passive will take over here. Okay.
Great,
Normally,
great.
they're all you can have either software load balancer or hardware load balancer.
Yes.
I will go with hardware load balancer because of the fastness. Okay, because they are specially made for this thing. Because they are expert in that, so I will go because the transaction volume is huge and lot of customization we can do it.
Yes.
For the purpose, I will go with hardware load balancer. Okay. See, then the next layer will be the application layer. In application layer, no, I will group the server based on their use cases. Because broadly, no, these UPI use cases can be bucketed into three things. One is financer, second one is non-financer, and the third one is mandate. So I'll give the servers as financer, non-financer, and mandate. Based on the type of request, the load balancer forwards the request to the particular group of server, any server in the particular group. Thoroughly. That is why I saw three groups here.
Yes.
Is that understandable? Okay.
And
See,
give example of non-finance and mandate use case.
Okay, I can give you example. See, one of the example is when you want to verify the VPA. Okay, when I entering a VPA of you, no, the first thing NPCI does it need to verify the VPA. No, such things are non-financial API. And for example, whenever a user newly registering, he needs the account details linked to the particular mobile number. That all come under non-financial thing. Financial is nothing but the debit, credit, and the sent and collect. These all financial. Non-financial is like this thing. When the VPA want to verify, when you want to get the list of accounts, list of banks, this all comes under non-financial. Mandate is nothing bad. For example, now IPOs are happening. Okay, recently LIC IPO all happened. Where one type of user can make, there are various payment modes on that. One of the payment mode is UPI, where the sponsor bank customer can make the payment using the UPI. In such cases, the amount has to get blocked for a particular period until the shares are allotted. So in such case, the mandate use case will come.
Okay.
Thorough.
Great, clear, perfect.
These are the apps. The second, one more thing what we will do is, instead of storing the data in on this base DB, I am using in-memory database here, Redis. Why no? Since multiple parties, for a transaction to get completed, it has to communicate with multiple parties, 4 parties, no? So I am using Redis here for fast IOs here. That is why all the data will be first stored in Redis instead of going to any on-disk DB. Okay, so the response will be fast for each leg. That is why we discussed. Once the transaction is completed, then the data will be pushed to Cassandra, to Kafka.
Okay. And
So
what are
after
these? On the right side, you have settlement system, reporting systems.
settlement reporting system, analytics system,
Yeah,
or the
these
external
are
system,
other
which needs
services,
data.
servers, microservices. What exactly they are?
No, these are all external system. They will be a separate system only.
Okay, okay,
Okay. So which needs the data from the UPI, the transaction data basically.
okay. And what are DB processors?
See, DB process meaning once the transaction is completed, no?
Okay,
It is pushed to the topic. From the topic, this processor pulls the data and pushes to the DB. Okay, here I will implement using batching. Instead of pushing the data in real time, no, I will
okay,
implement batching to push the data.
okay, okay. Nice, nice. Yes. This, I think, is all that, no, which is sufficient to understand. Great.
Yeah.
Good. You are exactly on time with all the stuff covered. Great.
Okay, so
Great. So, yes, I'm done with all my queries.
Mahesh Satish, any other question you have?
Uh, no, Shivam. I think I missed. Yes.
I think earlier when you were explaining this, you were actually on the different diagram, so we had a confusion. I guess that's why. It's great. Sure.
Okay. Okay, Satish. Thanks a lot.
Good. If nothing else, then we can close this presentation. Thanks a lot for Shivam and very nice
Thanks,
presentation.
Tarun. First, I have to thank you, Tarun, for providing the opportunity.
Great, great.
Thanks,
Nice.
Tarun. Thanks, Mahesh and Satish, for joining the call.
Sure. Okay,
Thanks, Shivam.
great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
Great. Yes, perfect.
Thanks, Tarun.
Okay, see you. Bye.